Hey everybody, it's immaculately, and today let's brew our Costa Rica Las Lajas natural process coffee as a filter offering. This is our second year carrying Las Lajas from Costa Rica, and we have another fantastic natural process coffee. I can already tell, first from the bag of coffee, second from the grounds, and then finally from my cup, that this is going to be another Onyx favorite and Onyx customer favorite. Super fruity. It's everything we expect from a natural process Costa Rican, except it's very crisp. It is almost more like a honey processed coffee than a natural coffee. We don't get boozy, we don't get really muddled flavors. Instead, it's very bright and very crisp. And for today's recipe, I'm going to be using the Stag X dripper. And for people following Onyx, following me, it is competition season. This means yours truly is preparing for the World Brewers Cup. And as such, I already brew a lot of coffee, as you see in these videos, but I'm trying out some new things, trying out new recipes, so you will notice a theme through all of these videos that we are going to be launching with this coffee launch. And one of those themes for today is going to be bloom time. So for this recipe, we're going to be using 15 grams of our Costa Rica Las Lajas. This is ground medium fine. I ground this on 12 on the Brazza Encore. This will be about 22 clicks on your Comandante C40. I'll be using 250 grams of 205 degree Fahrenheit water. So normal water temperature, pretty normal grind size for our pour overs if you've been following along. But what's going to be different, we're going to bloom for a really long time, and I'll talk about that as we do it. But first things first, let's go ahead and wet this paper filter, get everything ready for brewing. Additionally, I have a stir stick, chopstick, borosilicate glass stir stick, anything you want. Something narrow that's not going to move the coffee around a lot, but just going to poke some air bubbles. But let's wet this paper filter. The Stag is great. One, because I really enjoy flat bottom drippers. Two, that double wall stainless steel just retains so much heat. If you can brew it very effectively, it will brew very efficiently. If you do your job, it's gonna do its job. So, let that water drain, dump it all out, and let's dose our coffee. Again, that's 15 grams, medium fine. And this recipe will actually also work in a Kalita wave, in a V60, or similar brew methods. What you will experience then is more influence from each of those brew methods. Let's tear our scale, get our timer ready to go. My kettle is hot, let's go. I'm gonna start my timer, and I'm gonna bloom with 50 grams of water. Then I'm gonna take my stir stick. I'm going to poke, feel those dry clumps, make sure everything is saturated, and we are gonna let this bloom for a full minute. So, fine grind, long bloom. What our expectation is that this long bloom with not very much water is actually saturating all of our grounds, getting our grounds completely soaked so that we can be really efficient in our next pours and our next extraction. Essentially, extract really quickly and eliminate some of that bitterness that we get from over extraction. So, long bloom, then I'm just gonna do one continuous pour to 250 grams total. So, 2 pours, really easy. Got a long little break there in the middle, or the beginning. And then we punch it. I'm gonna pour it to 250. This is gonna get really high in this brewer. Won't get as high in some of these other brewers that I mentioned, the Kalita or the V60, because they are not as narrow. So slow your flow rate down, don't let it go over that filter. There we go. I'm right at the tip top of this brewer. And then we let it drain all the way through. So we don't do a lot to this coffee, and so Your final drain is going to be very dependent on your grind size. If we ground too coarse, and this just shoots right through, one, it won't have saturated all the way in that first stage, and two, it won't have enough time now with this big pulse. So what we're gonna get from a too coarse grind size and too fast brew is, one, straining a little slow, so I'm gonna give this filter a little tug because it had choked up on me. Too coarse, it's gonna be really sour, and it's gonna be really salty. That acidity is going to be really tart. It's going to really tingle your tongue if it's way too coarse. The other side of things, if it's way too fine, or if you didn't give this filter a tug like I did and it was just choked and stalled, then it's going to get a little bit more muddled, and we're going to cover up our fruity flavors with this like cacao nib flavor, which isn't necessarily unpleasant, but it's not as nice as we maybe want it to be. Instead, when we brew where we want to, which is right here, at 2.5 minutes, we get an exceptionally delicious cup of Costa Rican coffee. I have got raspberry, raw honey, vanilla, and papaya. This is a very nice cup of coffee, and you know the drill. Serve and enjoy.
You know the drill!
I gotta finish this quick!